Hey BleepinJeepers, it's Tyler. Back this week with my buddies JK. This week I'm going to be showing you one of the most popular upgrades right now, and that's replacing your headlamps with LED units. Now, there's a couple of different reasons to do this. Obviously, it's for improved light output and visibility at night, but LEDs also tend to be more shock resistant, more weather resistant. They last for hundreds of thousands of hours. And if you go with a set like these, my buddy opted for the JW speaker units. These are kind of on the higher end of the quality spectrum. These can last for years and years. So I'm not only going to show you how to install these, but we're going to go out and do a little bit of a light test at night to see if we can see an improvement in the light output, in our visibility, and see if this is a worthwhile upgrade. Now, if you live in a place like we do, where there's a high probability of animal strike, we're very rural, there's lots of deer, even elk, and that type of thing on the roads, especially in the wintertime, this might be a very important upgrade for you. All right, well, let's get to the install. So to install these lights, you're going to have to remove the front grille. I found it to be surprisingly easy on these JKs. There's these plastic trim pins, I don't know what you call them, but they have a little centerpiece, and if you've got a trim panel removal tool, you just raise up that centerpiece, and then the bottom easily slides right out. If you don't have one of those tools, you can carefully pry them up with a screwdriver, and then using the trim panel removal tool that I showed you how to make in another video, these things will pop right out. I'll link to that video in the description below. But once you've removed all of these little trim retainers, just give it a shake, make sure they're all loose. There's some little metal retaining clips down at the bottom of the grill, and if you just give it a smart tug, these will pop right out. There's also two of them located behind the indicator lights. Make sure you pull out on those. At this point, I found it easiest to just rotate the indicator light right out of the lens, leave it connected to the harness at this point, and now we'll remove the lens from the grill. It's held in place by these two plastic retainer clips. Be careful when you're prying these out that you don't damage the grill, because you're going to need to reuse those slots on the new lights. So, with those reflectors removed, now we're going to install these JW speaker indicator lights. Now these are left or right, and the way you determine it is by flipping over this plastic retaining clip. You want to orient the words that are printed on the front of the lens to the bottom, work the pigtail up through, and it'll slide right into those same slots on the grill. And then just depending on left or right side, you put this retaining clip in, tighten it down. Go ahead and do that on the other side. These went in really easy, actually. I was quite surprised with how easy they went in. Next, we're going to work on the headlights. So we're going to remove the bezel screws. Be careful, because the headlight will come out with them. You need to release this little clip, and that'll allow you to disconnect the factory headlight from the harness. Be careful when you're prying that off, you don't drop the light and break it. Now the new headlight just plugged right in. Now remember to click down that retaining clip so that your harness doesn't come loose during driving. Now these JW speaker lights also had these little notches that indexed with the factory bucket. So you just line up those notches, replace the bezel, and this thing went in slick. I was pretty impressed how easy this went in. I'll go ahead and do that on the other side, and once we get both of the headlights in, we're going to go back to working on the marker lights, or the indicator lights. So now this indicator bulb that I left in the harness, again, it's got this little metal retaining, or this little red clip. You click that up and it'll separate from the harness. Now bring your grill up, and these indicator lights, the pigtails were the correct one for this application. They lined right up, snapped right in, no problems at all. And this is a super easy install. Now just give another smart wrap on the bottom to reseat those little metal clips. Don't forget the ones on the outside there by the indicator lights. Now we're going to replace those little plastic retainer clips. Put the bottom part in first, and then you, by sliding in the top piece, lock it into place. And man, these lights turned out cool. Let's go test them. Now guys, my test of these lights wasn't anything super scientific. I literally just went out at night and drove the Jeep. So this is the factory headlights, and of course the human eye picks up the light much better than the camera does here, but you get the idea. It casts a really yellow beam. It's very dim. The spread isn't very good. And at the time I didn't realize how bad it was, because I have never driven a Jeep with these LED headlights. But I gotta tell you guys, I was astounded at the difference. So we're gonna get rid of these factory incandescents. I'm gonna switch over to the LEDs and look at the difference. Now there's no camera magic here. The ISO settings, the shutter speed, everything's the same on the camera. You can see there's an incredible difference. It's a cleaner, crisper, just a huge improvement. There even happened to be a deer on the road that night, so I decided to turn around and go take a look at it. So guys, I have to admit I was incredibly surprised with how much better the visibility is with LED headlights. I recommend you do this upgrade if you can afford to do it. I am really impressed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.